Let's watch this.
She came up to me one day and gave me the worst news any atheist husband could get. She said, I've become a Christian. I thought, oh, great. Now she's going to start judging me. Now she's going to try to get me not to hang out with my friends. Now she's going to make the kids think that there's something wrong with me because I don't believe in God. I just saw trouble. And trouble came because all of a sudden she becomes a devout Christian and I'm an adamant atheist. Well, we're just butting heads. And we'd never done that. We met when we were 14. We got married at 19 and 20. We're best friends. And yet for the first time in our marriage, we're at loggerheads. And I thought, I got to get my marriage back together here. How do I do that? Well, wait a minute. There's an easy way. All I have to do is disprove Christianity. I went to Yale Law School. I understand what evidence is. And I'm sure I can poke enough holes in Christianity that it would fall apart. I ended up spending a year and 9 months probing the historical data concerning the resurrection of Jesus mainly. I understood everything depends on whether Jesus returned from the dead or not. He claimed he was the Son of God. He says, I and the Father are one. And the word in Greek there for one is not masculine, it's neuter, which means Jesus was not saying I and the Father are the same person. He was saying I and the Father are the same thing. We're one in nature. We're one in essence. So I just began researching history. But as I began to investigate the resurrection, I was stunned because I did not expect there to be any historical validity to the fact that Jesus died on a cross and rose from the dead. How do we know it's true? 4 words that begin with the letter E. Execution. Jesus was dead after being crucified. I thought maybe he survived. No, we have no record anywhere of anyone surviving a full Roman crucifixion. The second E stands for early reports that he rose from the dead. In other words, reports that didn't come after decades of legendary development, but go right back to the cross itself within months of his death. Third E is empty tomb. How do we know? Because we know from history, sources inside and outside the Bible, that when the disciples began saying, oh, Jesus had been resurrected, what the enemies of Jesus said was, the disciples stole his body. So they're conceding implicitly that the tomb is empty. We have no fewer than 9 ancient sources, inside and outside the New Testament, confirming and corroborating the conviction of the disciples that they encountered the risen Christ. That is an avalanche of historical data. This was the final fact that convinced me. It's a huge difference between the terror attacks of September 11th and the disciples being willing to die for their convictions. They believed it with all their heart. They had faith in it. They were willing to die that way. That tells me nothing about the truth of their convictions. Now, let's think about the disciples. Of all human beings who've ever lived on the planet, they were there. They touched the resurrected Jesus. They knew the truth about whether he had returned from the dead and proved he's the Son of God. Knowing the truth, they were willing